Are you ready?
For what?
I guess just to answer some questions, talk a little bit about what's going on in your life and your creative process right now.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Um, so, my first question for you is tell me a little bit about the brushes that are behind you.
Yeah, so I guess first it's pretty crazy to see them all in one place, like organized. Because the past 2 years, I've just been making a bunch of tools and experimenting with them. And just recently, this week, we took the time to like clean and organize the studio, this new studio for the first time. Um, yeah, for the first time. So it's the past couple of years, it's been this process of getting moved in, um, still making art as I'm uh, getting moved in and building out the space and figuring out the different types of workflows that can happen in the space, because it's a significant upgrade and more space, than the studio space I had before. Um, so it just takes time, just like working and making, to get a body of work going and kind of figure out how you like to, just all the different ways that the studio itself is just like a big tool. Um, so as far as the brushes, that's been a like I really like not just like making art, but also just making things with my hands, working with my hands. So that's been a part of the process that's um, been a daily thing where every day I have to like make a new brush. And I guess what that's kind of how that's informed like the art making is, it's been much more of like there's times where you might see a mark or something that makes like a mark. um, you're like, oh, I like that mark, like I like, what tool is that? um, in many ways, like I'm imagining the marks I want to see, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a tool that like makes this, and then figuring out how to do that, it's just like its own fun, interesting thing. um, so yeah, in the other room there's like just as many, uh, and I guess this is with the foresight that I know at this point in my career. um, It'd be nice to have other studios places, and I don't want to spend 2 years setting them up when I find out where those places are. Uh, Rather just like ship the tools that I like working with. Um, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess going along with that, then, are there places that you have in mind for the next studios yet? Or,
I don't know. Not really. Not really. I mean, yeah, not really. I'm not even really sure how those decisions will be made. And in some ways, I don't even want to feel like I even made them,
Yeah.
or if they ever even happened. Just be in the place of movement in life where I'm somewhere doing something, and that's how it'll happen. Like, I think that's exactly what happened. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, that's yeah, we'll see. I'm curious too. Um, so much of like the journey up to this point has been that fan sounds like a clock, and that clock just happened. But the fan sounds like a clock, and it's been a lot of that. Having to have alarms set and reminders set for just all sorts of stuff, just because like you don't stumble on this, but if you try to make it happen too hard, it doesn't work either. Um, it's a lot of not using and putting the day to use, just exhausting all the energy you have, and then just doing that consistently, and not just through activity or like movement rather, but usefulness in the moments as they happen throughout, sequentially. And then learning how to rest. Not because I'm trying to get away from anything, because I'm wanting to be able to show up again, right? Well, ready, I guess. Right is kind of abstract. But it's like getting at. Did you ask something?
Oh, I was just asking about the next places for studios.
Yeah. Let me turn off this fan. It sounds like a clock. And I think like for these next no, I just think for these next places, that's what it's gonna that's how they're gonna reveal themselves, where I don't necessarily have a desire to work less, or play more. Just different ways to think about the clock. think about it as like, man, it's going. I need to be productive. Like I'm, but to what ends, you know, and that can also happen while you also can have an appreciation for the quality of just the enjoyment of the experience itself. Um, it's like I look back in time, tiny increments, and I look forward in time, in gigantic chunks. Um, and I guess is like, you know, you have the experience of stepping into and living the experiences that at one point you were just gigantic chunks looking forward, which gigantic, I don't know, it's kind of abstract, but years out, you know, and then you have that experience, you do, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and some could say that's an accomplishment, but everybody dies. And know where it ends. This is a certainty. And that can put meaning to that. And productivity and purpose to what you're doing. Especially if you like how you do it and you can see the fruit of the work, not just in your, just like, well, mainly just how it makes you grow as a human. And I think anybody that does something like that from that, you know, the environment that they are in daily also will do that. But that doesn't come from accomplishments. In the way of saying, oh, I achieved the thing that I set out to achieve. Because I mean, for me at least, in doing that, what that has led me to most is having just things that just like unrefined qualities in myself that, take their own amount of gardening. And you show up for that. And that's very seasonal, I guess. Like, oh, cool, like, oh yeah, and then things come back around. Cat wants all the attention. He's bumping into the thing. So something cool about the process is like, hey, Cheeto. Like I do know the value of, I do know the enjoyment of like new discovery. Like within the process, you make a new tool. You're like, oh man, this does this. I mean, even though I made it and maybe thought it was going to do this is actually what it does. And then there's going into it with just like, let's just see what it does. I don't even know. So I guess in a way, like I'm at this point in life where like it's interesting for me to do that with my own lifestyle. Yeah. Like how does that, what does that mean? So I guess I say that to say this. So much of that's why I'm not too interested in like me finding these other places, because like I've gotten very okay with just like the simplicity of the day-to-day as it's been for years and years. I mean, it's very simple. Show up in the studio, listen, contemplate, observe, and be spontaneous. It's just that I've been trying to do that too productively. I've done that a lot with productivity being the to what ends. Different types of productivity. That's just like a certain form that I've I guess that's like my background maybe of like having played sports and things like that. Look at them. Cats. They're funny. So yeah.
Just walking around.
Yeah. Just walking around, man.
Just walking around.
What are you working on? I was just walking around. Spend enough time, you and when almost the sum of, yeah, is that appropriate? The, even before Basu showed up, Basu was the first cat. I mean, there's days where like I wouldn't say a word. I'd just be in here, just go to the coffee shop, nod of the head, back in here another couple days, just and it's not that you even get okay with being alone with yourself; it's that you vanish.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, you go walk around, but you're not even walking around with you. So especially as you're making new bodies of work, because even the way you see the world is you're seeing it through these explorations of what's going on inside the studio, and you're looking at it that way, and it's not. I mean, it's already decided. Like, what am I gonna be? What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
You're gonna be back in the studio, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So. Then you have like, then Basu shows up and I'm in here and I'm walking around. He's here. He's like, it's like, hey, dude, like,
He's a witness.
yeah. So I think it's cool to be able to like know people that like, it'll be fun to experience how they walk around. And just get to be there too. Like, yeah. So that's cool. We were like moving and rearranging and cleaning the studio space. I don't even know how intentional what I'm about to say really is, but it consistently, I've noticed it happens. I think it's kind of just, I'm not really, I mean, I'll try to put words to it. It's like, sometimes it's like, it'll be like a piece of paper or something, or a ball of little string. I'll throw it across the room. And I'm like, at some point I'll see that ball of string or whatever it is. I don't know when, and it'll be when I'm thinking about something. And it'll just show back up. It's like a little like, and it like in that moment, it's like you're aware of what you're thinking about, but also what you happen to be thinking about when you're like, I'm just gonna throw this over here. And it'll just roll and like hit your foot, or just pop, like just It just happened, and it's like you don't look for it, but you never miss it. And anytime, like, I'll really, and this is the first time I've cleaned, or like really cleaned and organized this studio space. So it's like you see a lot of them, because like it's all the things that weren't there when you just started and it's just blank. There's marks, little things all over. Some are just, but it was always, especially in a studio space, especially in the way I've know that I show up, is like, even if it's just a splatter on the floor, it still took all the years and all the art that got made before to even get to this studio space. So yeah, it's been a like revealing week already. But I saw one, and it made me remember when I've been on my feet very long. And like in that moment when I felt my feet like needles and burning in my feet, I looked at a wall over here, and I kind of just like looked at it, and it was just like a blank. It was just like a white part of the wall. And I went over there and just wrote on it in all ways. In all ways. And as we were moving things the other day, I saw that again. Well, going back to the first time, it was this contemplation of what if in all ways, at all times, it was hard, but it was blank. You got to, in all times, in all ways, define what that even meant. And so I was standing in I don't know if it was somewhere, and I looked and it said in all ways, and in that moment, my feet started, pins and needles, and I started laughing, and then today, I started thinking about if someone, or if you were going to ask me, like, what's been the hardest part about it, and that thought came, and so I was thinking about that. I was like, man, what's been the hardest part about it? And there was just like a bunch of like interesting what aren't contradictions at all in the way I think about them, but would sound like it. Like They're all funny. I'll try. So, like, but the answer to that is in this season has been being within the contradictions, like in the betweenness of pushing yourself to exhaust yourself to the point where your feet feel like that. It's like, and then also it's because you've been dancing too long. And then to not take how you're dancing lightly, like really serious. I'm really feeling it. But the reason that you're dancing, don't take it serious at all. But the things that the possibilities that that come from that, ones that seem like I have to be the craziest human ever to try that. That's what you do. But that's nothing more than just like, oh, it's just blank though. And not being you hear that phrase a lot. Just be, just put that effort into just, it's like, so you did, you just stood there. Feet would still hurt. Or you go walk someplace, you see a bunch like, or you don't, then you're bored, like it's just cool. I mean, hey, just walking around out here, I guess. But yeah, it's just and then the next round of construction is about to start. Like, but who is to say congratulations and know what that means?
Yeah.
Maybe it means a lot of different things, and all those things are the same thing at different times. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I guess that really is like, been one of the hardest parts. Learning how to not care about being ever seen as an artist at all. To the point where perhaps where maybe you can really listen. Vanish. Or be known everywhere. And no one ever sees you. Even if they're all around you. And even you can't see you. Man, I'm home with a bunch of people. Is it not just a bunch of human beings on a planet flying through the? Is that not what it's? Hey. like, ah. Um. When you think about feelings, do you think about movement?
Mm. I don't know if I think about movement, but I don't think it's
Like activity?
stationary. Oh. Huh. Um, no, probably not activity. No.
What's your next question? This interview.
My next question. So, what's next for you? What's on the horizon? What are you looking forward to? You don't have to answer all of them at once. Or at all.
It's classifying and categorizing.
Good job.
Yeah. What's next for me is what will be there, what's on the horizon. Is still that, but also how I see it. Wow. And I'm learning not to look so much forward. To the different types of play the next day. That I physically punish myself. It's not necessary. It was at a certain point to be like, hey, this is seasons, get older.
What's this season?
Past decade, I've journaled a lot, and the process of journaling is to be able to psychologically forecast my own habits of mine in a way that I just don't pour a ton of energy into trying to change me as much as it is I'm not what I shouldn't be when the season that I should not be that shows up. While at the same time just being like, hey man, maybe there's like a fifth, sixth new seat. Maybe there's, maybe it's not this, there'd be a whole new situation, being open to that as well. As actual values change, new seasons are possible. not necessarily in the way I'm talking about how I have come to understand this for myself. Necessarily like morals or virtue. But that which like you care about in a way that you're joyful to be devoted to it. It's not the discipline is just going deeper. Not if you're going to do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So what does going deeper look like? As I think about like well, it's not having to be an artist other places. And being able to listen. Yeah, I mean, what people see, the byproduct of to me, what is at a really at a deep level, a consistent practice of listening. At times, listening while removing the considerations of logic enough for it to just be absolutely spontaneous. And then sometimes listening and noticing what could be called will, maybe, to just as much spontaneously not listen without having to not know the reason, but being able to feel what that's not it. And that tension is required for the music to happen. You that happens enough, just like any habits of mind, that it's you you know, you notice more when it's not that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's being cool with that. Cool. Or not. Like, or not. It's funny. There's times. This one doesn't happen that often, but there's times where I'm like, man, I really want to just like make some art. As far as like materials, tools, express like make some paintings. But I know what's really going on, and I won't, because I know what's really going on is I just feel like I got something to say. And the reason that I don't do that is because like the experience that I've had, the majority, the big chunk of while I'm doing this is seeing what comes from just not doing it, not doing that. Like I feel like I have something to say, but I'm available to listen. And what is that which requires devotion to vanishing to even like really contemplate it will show up. Really being like, man, what the, like, man, how do I even? It's like, yeah, you can't. You got like just follow the breadcrumbs. Will show up something that is just spontaneously funny. It's funny, or something that I'm like, that's what I needed to hear. Like, what about for you?
What about for me?
Looking forward to. Oh, I already know.
Okay. What do you know?
I'm just being silly. No, like for real though. Not like for art, like but like what are you looking forward to? I also think it's interesting that like I get asked like that question a lot for some like a lot. A lot of the same cause like in different like periods of life, it's like a lot of this like it'll change, but when it changes, it's a lot of like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'd be like, man, it seems like you're busy, man. Like, uh, or oh man, what inspires you, or uh, what are you looking forward to, or like what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
what's got my on switch on? Like, you know, I'm like, what? Like, I just like hear it different, but it sounds like when I hear it, it's like, man, what's got me in spiral? What's got me like spiraling inward? like inspired? Like, you know, like really like, what was that other one that you just like? What are you looking forward to? That one is interesting because you always be like, what is the one thing? I'm like, why does that have to be one thing? Man, I gotta be like a bagel, grapes, dancing, the cats, a pedicure, all everything awesome. Like that I could just go like yeah, but you're like the one thing that's like I mean if you're gonna look forward,
yeah,
like
but is that the question, or is that how we receive the question? That it's one thing.
if someone was like, what's the one thing? But like
But that wasn't the question.
but even if it was, you'd be like, that's all that could all be one thing. What if that not be the one thing that's like, even if it was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if it was the one thing that you get to make up completely what the one thing is, why not make it all the awesome things? That's the one thing.
Oh, yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm always looking forward to my next meal. You know that.
All right. So in that way, we could discuss, well, what is a meal to you? What does that mean?
Oh, man. This is turned into a metaphor now. Has this become?
Well, I mean, because okay, so well, I mean, all I'm saying is that there's things that you could eat at mealtime that you'd be like, I'm not looking forward to that.
True.
I don't know what those would be either. But all I'm saying is like, that aside, I hear you. You're like eating the thing that I like to eat and that I know is good for me.
And then that could be a metaphor. Too.
So you're in a good space then. Sometimes you're like, I eat that bad meal.
Give me that Cheetos.
Yeah, what's up with that? Guess it'd be like, do you do it because you feel like you've earned it? Do you do it because you know that you've done it so much that it's going to kill you anyway? Do you feel like you have to have a reason? Or are you going to eat the whole bag at once? And if you did, that make you feel guilty? Would it make you sick? Would you want a whole nother bag? It's like you go deep. Oh man. Yeah, these will be fun. It's just like, dude, we have some funny conversations, man. It's man, it's really nice to have the studio space getting clean and organized, and just to go through all the work that's in here. Man, people, they're like, they go down to the south side spot, the down Studio AM. Man, it's a crazy amount of art. I'm like, dude. Like,
If you only knew.
oh man, yeah. It's like going back through it. It's like, I mean, to me, it is a visual journal. Mm-hmm. That is what it is.
Yeah.
So you go back through it. Even I mean, I probably won't go. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever go back through all of it. I mean, it's unlikely. Mm-hmm. It would interrupt with like doing it too much.
Yeah.
Like,
that's like a whole other metaphor.
Yeah. That is its own interesting place of listening. That's actually a one of the practices that whenever I notice I'm becoming too spontaneously talkative, I'll go into this practice of just not just not speaking, but just not just speaking to do it. And one of the ways that I'll notice I'm becoming too spontaneously talkative is just too many stories. I'll start talking about just things and too many stories, and the interactions I have, other people are talking too many stories. Stories bring out stories, you know. And stories, what is the point of it? I mean, really, if it's not hilarious, if it's not just hilarious, then it's some metaphor, right? But without stories, in the way of talking through stories, you can listen, you can hear things as just metaphors without that having to be the delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
Just like to like be able to in dialogue be in contemplation. Oh. And it creates and makes it where you honor that the space that gets created of looking at information in a metaphorical way. What is this? How long we been doing? Oh man.
Number 6.
I don't know, man. One more. Well, let's finish it up. One more. If one shows up, if you can be like, huh. If not, cool. That's interesting. That is a dynamic of listening. That's the, not the coming up with questions, but the seeing of if there's one there in that
Yeah.
in that moment of looking. One of the sometimes like the what people would call like the mantras, or kind of the word that put just like the words, the language, the poems. They sometimes they come at once, sometimes they come in pieces.
Yeah.
Over maybe months. Sometimes it's one recently is like the word question. It's all that's in there. But it's like ask and you shall be questioned. It's like listen, even if nothing's there. Like yeah. Like look is once nothing. It's just the quality of like want. its own.
Yeah.
In its own essence, it was like, ah. But if you ask that, or not ask that, but what was still that? What was still there without there needing to be anything?
Yeah.
To be able to look that way. Like really, what's it like? Dude, we know that, dude. It's like, look, you like look, you like, man, I know I saw that thing that, like, man, I look as once nothing. Yeah, choosing to feel all the emotions except for grief.
Mm.
Imagine if want was it was like you get everything you want. You're that, everything, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if grief showed up. It's not that it's not going to show up. So if you could want it not to, if you could make that choice.
Mm.
And it wouldn't. Like, but what's that like? Not to want it or not want it.
Yeah.
But to just know that, like, you were there as it actually showed up. Some things, I mean, so like on the other side of that, it's like, yeah, I would like some of these other ones. It's like, yeah, I'll make that choice though. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'll be like, I made that choice. Like that was a. So would you rather make the choice to be angry, or just to be angry?
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather know you're making the choice to be happy, or just be happy?
Mm.
So I go through all of them.
Yeah.
But grief, man, like it's interesting, right? It's an interesting thought because it's like it's almost like you're not honoring something that like is worth making you feel that way. That is like, I mean, there's like. And then if you didn't, like, what would happen then? Like, you know, like if you just like, well, didn't feel like, I don't know. Thinking about that though. It's crazy. Dude, I remember when my mom died. See, I had no idea how to feel. And the only thing, at least to me, as like a 15-year-old kid, was just like, don't try to be like I had like had to be strong my whole all the like. It's like don't be so strong that you don't just like actually just like feel however you're. Don't try to like not feel because like you're scared to see what happens.
Yeah.
Dude, just like cried all night, puked everywhere, just kept puking. And then never cried about it again. Like, and that's not me saying like, oh, I'm strong. It's just after that, I just thought about all of like the awesome things that I learned. It was like, I can't cry about man. Like I can like embody these, you know, like these are things that I can. Yeah, and it was never like a situation like I don't think in life like that I was ever like, oh man, like now I'm not gonna cry. But at the same time, when I think about when it happens now, I see. It's like I'll be like I'll see where the tears are, and I'll go to them and like be like, all right. Most of the time, because it's different. It's like so that's the thing. It's like cry. There's like
Yeah.
at least for me, that's how I've experienced. Like, it's just yeah, and I don't know if and they're not really sad tears. Like it's just like beautiful beautiful thoughts. Like really that are just like man, jeez, that are like like just the one that we're talking about now is one that like the other day we were talking about. I was like, oh man, we were like, what do you want? It's like man, be able to like choose them or know that I'm feeling all the emotions like and choosing them, like making the choice except for maybe grief. Like
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like how do you how other way could you like love somebody? And they're like, no, like man, like you really like it, like the man. Would you? Yeah. I've also noticed like it has felt like not the same over these different times in life. Like um I also would never want to build the muscle of faking it. So there's been times where I'm like, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel, right? Like I don't know how to feel, and that's like,
Maybe that's its own feeling.
It's like, yeah. I mean, if it was a situation where you're like, man, and grief shows up, I wouldn't be like, no, oh, this is something.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't want to conjure it up, like, and fake it.
Yeah.
Like, life, man. The heck?
Just walking around.
Just walking
man.
around.
Just all cats.
Yeah.
Or just all cats walking around.
Cool. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks for answering my one question.
Yeah, just like
No, that's what I. Yeah, that's the perfect kind of interview.